All right, let's turn it over to Alex for nap time.
And this has been You'll Never ASMR Alone.
This is it. Alex, why don't you start us off with a little AMSR intro for the show?
Hello and welcome to You'll Never Talk Alone. I'm your host, Whispering Willie.
I feel like this is inappropriate somehow.
Yeah, I feel weirdly dirty about this. Nope. Nope. Stop it. Nope.
I think
stop
this
it.
podcast just went NC-17.
Yep. Just to be safe, I've muted Alex. Welcome to You Never Talk Alone. Joseph Craven, Will Caves, Alex Level, here with you on this episode. Whew, man, we are all very tired and trying to record a podcast. It's not
even more so after that ASMR.
I know. Oh, put me straight to sleep. Whew. Welcome to this episode where we are going to take a look at the season thus far and really break down some of the stuff that we feel has been significant, highs and lows, and so on and so forth. Alex and I, if you missed it, we encourage you to go back and listen to the episode that we just put out this week, covering the last couple of weeks, in particular those back-to-back losses to Man City and Wolves. If you're looking for some, more immediate info, there you go. Go over there, give a listen to that episode, and then come back over here and enjoy this one as well. Here we are. We've got 21 matches played at this point in the Premier League season, 17 wins, 3 draws, only 1 loss on the record, 4 points up, a nice plus 39 goal differential, which is one of my favorite things to see because that is a real good number. And in particular, it's a real good thing to have a good defensive statistic backing up the amount of goals that we actually score. So we're looking at the season as a whole and what has been done so far. I mean, I guess first and foremost, just kind of in a general personal sense, Alex, how are you actually, you as an observer or as a fan, feeling about the team to this point in the season when you look at everything going on, not just Premier League, but Champions League, the cups that we got out of real early, all that sort of stuff. But when you look at the team as a whole and just what they've put together, what they're doing, how are you feeling as an observer?
Possibly the happiest I've ever been as a Liverpool fan, because while we've experienced great victories and trophy wins in the past, those were short, I guess, because it was one match. But over the course of half a season so far, it's hard to see any areas of the team where you can point to and say that is probably going to come back and cost us. Because even in the most recent season where we had the title challenge in 13-14, we were up at the top of the table for a while, near the top for most of it. But you could look at our defense and be like, okay, I don't know how we're going to manage to win this league when we're conceding 900 goals a game. But this team is actually super balanced, well-focused, able to control matches, able to switch styles almost from a possession-based controlling team to the quick, fast-paced, action-packed, counter-attacking team that we saw last season. So it's wonderful, and we knew this was coming, but having it happen is just kind of more than you could ever have hoped for.
Yeah, Will, you echo those sentiments yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm super pumped to be where we are right now. You really couldn't have asked for anything better at the beginning of the season. And we're going to take a time out while my daughter cries. Here, you have to edit this. Give me just a second. And she's pulled her shirt up over her head.
Go!
Right.
The yellow card.
So I'll come back in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I echo kind of what Alex said. Basically, we are better off than we ever could have done before. I apologize, listener, if you hear my daughter in the background. She's upset because we're not eating pancakes for dinner. So
man,
that's actually why Andrew is.
Yeah, I'd be pretty livid about that one myself. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I mean, you really have the emergence of some key players. I mean, he's not a summer signing, but who could have predicted that Van Dijk would come in and have the impact that he's had? Allison was both of those players, Allison and Van Dijk, cost a lot of money, and there's a lot of room for error when you cost a lot of money, and they have had no errors pretty much between them. It's been awesome. We have seen maybe some people who took a little bit longer to get in the team, like Fabinho, really come into their own. Keita still is not quite there, but just the fact that he's still not quite there, and there's more to come from him, and we're already doing this well. This is nothing but positivity. I mean, if we can stay fit, which seems to be an issue right now, we're sitting pretty. I mean, there's really nothing to worry about aside from injuries.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting to see, and I think what has really stood out to me in a tremendous way is exactly what you pointed out: the instant impact of those purchases, and in particular the Van Dijk and the Allison purchases. I mean, instantly changed not just the the defense as a whole, but it changed the entire tone of the team. Like, they knew that they could play in a much more free-flowing, aggressive offensive style as far as the attackers go, because they knew that the defense was locked down and would cover for a lot of areas there. And then I kind of mentioned to Alex in our production meeting beforehand, before we actually record, but and it's not a brand new signing either, but I mean, look at the impact of Andy Robertson, for example. And how he has just come into his own and blossomed, and second on the team in assists right now out of that left back position. And oh my gosh, like, I've often said on the podcast that I've always, like, when Jurgen Klopp identifies a guy he wants and goes after the player he wants, you see why, and you see the impact of that player. But these examples are like off the charts, instant impact. And it's been really, really incredible to watch that. What about?
I was just going to piggyback on that. I can't even think who our last transfer failure was. Like, there were probably multiples per season for a while there, and now, I mean, Keita's not really a failure, I guess, but who is even our last transfer?
Solanke, if you want to class him as that.
Maybe.
He hasn't really played, and we didn't really expect much from him anyway.
But he still benefited the team.
Yeah.
Origi, maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there hasn't. The point being, there hasn't been one. Like, we are, since Klopp got here, we're not just buying to buy. We're buying to fit the team, and it's really fun to see, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Not just buying to buy, because that's.
And as it has come to light, we're actually listening to the recruitment team. So we had this idea that the committee didn't really know what they were doing, but as we've seen, and as has come out in details, that it was pretty much just Brendan Rodgers. The committee would bring him these players and be like, "No, I want these injury-prone, terrible players instead." So I like our.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's kind of how we're still stuck with Adam Lallana, is the fact that instead of buying players that fit, we just kind of bought guys seemingly willy-nilly. Yeah, it's a nice change. It's very interesting because, I mean, I was definitely in the discussions of, like, the whole I'm not afraid to admit, of the whole FSG out, type of mentality at one point here. But now we start to see that maybe that was not actually the biggest issue. And maybe the biggest issue was that we just had a lot more to repair than we thought. And we needed the right leader in charge in Jurgen Klopp to and give him time to fix all of those issues. And we're starting to kind of reap the rewards right now, it looks like. As far as the returning players, all right, if those were some of the new guys and the impact they've had, but let's talk about the returning players. Let's talk about the guys like, obviously, the attacking three of Salah, Firmino, and Mane, sitting there right now, still the top three scorers on the team, for sure. You look at guys like James Milner, the ageless veteran here, who occasionally shows his age. Looking at like the returning players. I mean, how are we feeling about the the guys that are not new this season, their performances so far. I mean, what's your take on this one so far, Alex?
For the most part, they've been really good, as evidenced by our league position. It's specifically Joe Gomez. I think he's made me the happiest out of the people that we kind of already had for a while, at least. And now that we're getting to see him play in his proper position, it turns out he's really good at it. But unfortunately, that also means that, as everyone who plays that right-sided center back role shows, he's now fragile as heck, because everyone who plays that role breaks.
Yes.
So he's been fantastic. The attack has been good. It's kind of a weird situation where this season compared to last season, it has kind of seemed like they aren't playing as well, but they're still putting out incredible numbers, even when someone like Bobby, who went on a big dip in form for quite a while, was still contributing despite not playing very well. So been very pleased with them. I mean, Salah's joint top scorer. I think some of the only potential question marks are obviously that those people behind Joe Gomez in the pecking order, and some of the midfield players. We've seen hot and cold performances from them, mostly hot. And especially as we've worked in some of the new signings, they've started to come out of their shell a little bit more, but we've seen the mix of players that bring the best and worst out of each other. And that has changed a bit, but there's still some worries there, I guess, as evidenced by kind of the reaction that we saw when the lineup that looked so bad against PSG was put out against Napoli. But they did step up. So if there was any position and returning players that were not as pleasing as everyone else, it would be some of the players in the midfield.
Yeah, and I think the safest assumption in that, or the safest summation in that, and what you just said, is that it is more so a hot and cold type of thing. Not necessarily that they have been. Yeah, we sometimes rag on them when they do make errors, but not necessarily that they have just like flat out been super bad all season or anything like that. It's just that there seems to be a little bit of a lack of consistency. Yeah, I don't know. Is that kind of what you're thinking as well, Will? I mean, what's your take on the returners, or maybe that midfield in particular?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think the midfield now is not the midfield. It's not what the midfield is going to be going forward. You're already seeing Fabinho come in. Keita is coming. I feel like it's a matter of time. When Ox gets back, assuming he's even 80% of the Ox that he was when he got injured, he'll be, in the fold. What's been disappointing, you mentioned Bobby, and I'll throw Mane in that pile too. They've both been kind of underperforming this year. Mane is probably my favorite player on the team, and disappointingly has been crap a lot this season. But no, it's the midfield specifically. Like, it's fun and good that we have people like James Milner, and Gini has had a resurgence this year. Henderson, I'm a Hendo fanboy, but like it's good that we have those players. But moving forward, Fabinho is going to displace Henderson. You see the writing on the wall now, or at least playing a 2 with Henderson. Somebody's going to miss out. I think we're starting to see it maybe be more of a James Milner missing out. Gini, I'm skeptical of how long term his form is going to be. He looks really good right now, but he often goes missing in matches, or at least he has the past couple of seasons. I'm just waiting on that to happen, honestly. But I think all in all, like, our returning players have really stepped up to the level of our imports. I go back to Van Dijk. His influence on the team cannot be understated. He makes everybody more comfortable, and Alisson just amplifies that. And I think that you really see our strength come from those two positions more so than the returning, quote, leaders on the team like Henderson and Milner. You're starting to see just how much of a stamp Van Dijk is putting on this team, and how organized everybody is, how confident they are. Even when, there was 2 months there when Salah was deemed a one-season wonder because he wasn't scoring, but we're still top of the league and we conceded like 6 goals or 7 goals at that point in time. I don't remember what it was, but it's
Maybe
just
not
really
even that many.
Yeah, probably at
honestly,
that point.
I think it was
not that many.
like 2 at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it was
like
insane.
but it but to say that our returning players aren't playing well that's an understatement. They are. I mean, we're top of the league. Everybody's playing well, but it's just I think some of our returning players, you're starting to see the gulf in quality between what we had versus what we have now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Hey, how about this? If you had to give like a player of the season, or a player of the first half of the season award out to someone on the team, like an MVP award, is it gonna be like Allison or Van Dijk? Is it gonna be one of those defensive players for the way they've affected things? Like, I mean, I want to hear from both of you. So start us off, Will.
I think it's either Van Dijk or Andy Robertson. Honestly, like it just. I mean, I didn't talk about him because y'all had already mentioned him, but his influence he's gone from Coutinho not passing in the ball for weeks at a time to being a mainstay of our offense and of our defense.
Yeah,
he's our best midfielder.
He is our best. He's our best. Yeah, he is. I mean, basically, he's insane. I mean, I came out of my seat with his contribution to the goal at City, just that little dink. I mean, Trent's pass is excellent. Bobby's diving header, those are fun to see. But the dink over Ederson, over the defense to set Bobby up. I mean, it's just
unreal.
beautiful. But he is truly. It's hard to pinpoint our best player. It's not. Our best player is Van Dijk, but an MVP, it's hard to pinpoint. I think it's one of those two. I'd probably give it to Van Dijk, but Andy's in the conversation.
Alex, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, the obvious choices are definitely Van Dijk and Allison, but I'm going to go with a player that came in that no one really took as much stock of when he was coming in because his fee was so low and because there have been doubts about his commitment. But Xherdan Shaqiri has been my player of the first half of the season. I just love the little guy, little/big guy. I mean, he brings such a different element to our attack and our build-up play that we have been missing. He finds the spaces. He's able to turn. I've talked at length about how impressive it is that whenever he gets the ball, he's able to turn into space and go at people. And it's something that has made our attack better and made our team better overall. And what he does in the attack and his work rate defensively, he's always offering options. He gets the most out of the players around him, and he's developed an understanding with not only the other midfielders that he's played with, but also the front three and whichever two he's playing with if he's playing out on the wing. So I am ecstatic that he's here. And this is the kind of player we've needed for so long because he doesn't necessarily start every game, but he's quality when he plays, and he can come in off the bench and make a difference. He's one of those players where if he's not starting and we need help, you can turn to the bench and say, we've got Shaqiri there, and he can come out and turn this game on its head and grab the game by the scruff of the neck, as the cliche goes. He's one of those players that will do it, and he will hit the hell out of those posts on free kicks.
He's going to get him one of these days. No, that's a great point. He's a spark plug. Like, we've had a lot of people fit a lot of roles on the team over the years, but that is a player that we have not had in a while who is that spark plug, especially someone who is like, you want him in the starting lineup, he's going to do it then. You want him to come in and ignite things halfway through the match or whatever, he's going to do that no problem too. Like, the fact that he brings the energy and he can completely change the tone and the rhythm of a game that's his value, that's his impact, and it's really, really, really impressive to see, I think.
He's such an interesting case. At the beginning of the season, I said that before we signed him, that's the role that we needed, was somebody that could play across the front, that could really make an impact. What I meant by that, someone, was Wilfred Zaha. What I got was Xherdan Shaqiri, and he has proved me wrong in every way. I knew he was a good player, but I was a little unsure. But I mean, he's awesome. I love it. When he's on the field, when he's on the ball, he's just really fun to watch. He's a spark plug, like you said, Alex. And I think he's a great shout for MVP of the first half.
And he's just so happy to be here. That's the great part about it. Like he's loving it, and he hates United. He absolutely hates them because he just sinks them at every opportunity, and it is just fantastic.
Oh, it's so glorious. It's so glorious. Up till this point in the season, what do you think has been the best performance of the year so far? I mean, we've had some good ones. I mean, you don't even have to dig back that far and just look at the Arsenal match from not long ago and 5-1 right then. Just so good. But I mean, in recent finishes, I mean, the past month you had 5-1 against Arsenal, 3-1 against United. Going back a little bit further, I'm looking and seeing, there we go. 3-2 against PSG in that epic Champions League match. I mean, what do you think is maybe the best performance? Like if you had to pick a match of the early season so far, what do you think would be your pick, Alex?
I mean, it's got to be the preseason victory over Tranmere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really
how could I not mention that one?
No, there's been a lot of big results, but I think in terms of what had been going on around the league, the 5-1 against Arsenal was absolutely massive. And it might be biased because it's so fresh on the mind, but to go down 1-0, we hadn't been behind at home all season, and to then turn it around in such a fashion and to put in a performance where we earned 2 penalties, having not earned penalties since the club was founded, I think, at home. So I mean, it's everything clicked, and we took them apart. And with everything else going our way, it showed that we, like we talked about on the other episode this week, that we're focused on us. We are not being swayed by what's happening in the league, even if the fans are, even if we're there. The squad has to be aware of it. They definitely are getting in the ear, hey, Chelsea are losing, City are down, that kind of stuff. But we just focused on the task at hand and put in a performance that stamped our authority on this league. And it was exactly what was needed at the time in terms of points and in terms of how we did it. And it really just was so impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think honorable mention may go to the 1-0 against Napoli, just as a statement win, because we had to win however the math worked out to move on in the Champions League and get out of the group. I think historically that might have been a game where we screwed up, especially against a good Napoli side. I think back-to-back, the Napoli game, well, not back-to-back, but one right after the other, the Napoli game and then the Arsenal game, really just showed that we're here. We're the finished article. Like, we're not just punching above our weight. We are where we're supposed to be.
That Napoli game paid for Alisson by itself.
That Napoli game gave me stomach ulcers also, but it was awesome.
Oh my gosh. What an absolute thriller of a season so far. Like, looking back over these results real quick and just kind of remembering some of the matches that I kind of had forgotten about a little bit. And I mean, to even just go on a 21 match unbeaten run to start 20 match unbeaten run. Is that what I said? Did I say the right number? Yeah. To start things off on the year. I mean, that's something I think we said in the last episode, but I mean, everyone thought that the run to start last year off for Manchester City was like, oh my gosh, it's so incredible. No one can when's the next team going to actually repeat a performance like that? And then we did it 1 year later. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. But looking down the road now, looking at the rest of the season, looking at the immediate future in terms of what we have. Let's see, Brighton, Palace, Leicester in the month of January. Going on to West Ham, Bournemouth, before you finally get to the second in the bout against United on the season in late February. But looking ahead on the season, what's your confidence level at in terms of Liverpool's ability to finish the job in the Premier League, Alex?
I'm very confident in this team, and I think most importantly, this team is confident in this team. You could see a lot of times, as we've talked about, ad nauseum in the past few years that when things don't go our way, the team crumbles. But we have not seen that at all. We've gone behind at times, or we've had tough matches where it's been 0-0 70 minutes in, and the team is not panicking, and that gives me the utmost confidence. But I mean, the matches you just listed off, those are the matches at this stage in the season where you win titles, because we've seen our title contenders drop points to those teams, and we are good enough, and we have to grind these matches out because they're not going to make it easy for us. They might even play very negatively, knowing that we're pressing for a title and we might have to attack. So I'm confident that we can get it done, but it won't be easy despite what the fixtures sound like. And the only thing that could potentially shake my confidence is our history of injuries, and that's already starting to show at center back to start with. But I think we also have to worry about if one of the front three gets injured. While we do have cover for them, it's not quite the same, especially if we were to see someone like a Bobby go down, because the backups at that striker role, even if we move Mo up and bring Shaqiri in, whoever we bring in off the bench, it's a definite drop in quality, and it's a definite difference in play style that doesn't necessarily play to our strengths, even as we play a little differently. So that would be my only worry.
Well, what you lose in Bobby going down, you probably gain in Cruyff turns from Lallana. So, I mean, is it really that much of a loss?
That's cute that you think Lallana will be fit enough to ever play
That's
again.
true. He's just perennially injured.
In fact, just thinking about pulling off a Cruyff turn has actually extended Lallana's injuries.
I love when he got on I forget what game it was. We've played so many lately. I guess it was against Arsenal. The first touch he did a Cruyff turn. It was wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Wasting no time.
Looking at the fixtures, you really, I mean, not to get too cocky, but you really don't see a potential loss before Bayern. Like, that's another 5 games, maybe. I mean, West Ham away, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Bayern, you got United away. That's after Bayern. You know, that's really, you got United, Watford, Everton. That's kind of tough. Tottenham. We have a really kind fixture list up to the end of the season. And so I know Wolves has to play City. They've taken points off everybody but us this season, in the top 6 at least. But to have that run in and to have already played City twice, I feel awesome. Like, barring some sort of a worse injury crisis than what we have, it could be a real fun end to the season.
Yeah. I mean, to have gone ahead and already gotten, like you were just saying, gotten the 2 matches against City out of the way, and then the other team that's really, pushing for, that's making a good push right now is Tottenham, who's playing pretty hot. We don't have to play them until the end of March. So depending on how things go, at that point in time, that might not be as significant. That could still be quite significant. It could also, not be that significant if they've cooled off for any reason on their push and it's, back to a 2-team Liverpool versus City sort of race. The immediate schedule is quite favorable for sure. What about that pesky other competition that we have going on, the Champions League? Do you feel like that's a priority right now? I mean, obviously we had a great Champions League run last season, and we're able to get through the group stage, to muscle through with sometimes it felt like minimal effort, minimal fight to get through. We're able to actually get it done. So what are you thinking, Alex, as far as the Champions League goes? Like, if you're looking ahead, do you care that much, or would that be completely forgiven if we, run through the rest of the Premier League? And then, what's your confidence level?
That's an interesting point that you say that, because I was talking with a Liverpool supporting friend yesterday about that we're
Drop
doing
their
so
name.
well.
Drop their name right now and tell us who it is.
It's my buddy Gav.
What's up, Gav? This episode is dedicated to you now. This is officially the Gav episode.
Yes. But we were talking that we're doing so well in the league that people don't really seem to care about the Champions League. And it's really funny because, I mean, we were in the final of this competition last year, and that might have taken a lot out of people, and how we qualified might have taken a lot out of people in terms of the competition. But those, I mean, it's, what is it, 7 total games, and we win that trophy. And these are the type of games that play to our favor, playing the big teams, playing the teams that are coming out to play against us and want to impose their will in the game. And in those kind of struggles, we do really well. So, I mean, I think we can definitely manage those 2 competitions because we have more squad depth theoretically to get through that. And I mean, the players will be up for this. It doesn't congest the calendar as much as the domestic cups. Plus, we'll have those cup weekends off for extra rest. So we can absolutely manage those 2 competitions. And Bayern historically would have been a tough matchup, and it will be tough. But if we were to play Bayern any year, this is the year to play them. They have a lot of weaknesses, and we can definitely take it to them. We already showed them how we do it in the Audi Cup, and we're about to repeat it. So I'm feeling immensely confident that we can get through this tie unscathed. I mean, we'll have Van Dijk missing for the first leg, which could be an issue, but we have enough other tools and enough know-how to manage this tie to get through that. And I think we can make a deep run again and manage the toughness of the league, because as we just talked about, the fixture order in the league is very favorable.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Will, what's your care level at as far as Champions League goes?
I love the Champions League, and honestly, there's nothing more than I love than paying $4 to Bleacher Report Live to watch it every time it comes on.
Hey, you know what? Apologies to Gab. This is now the Bleacher Report Live episode.
Right.
Of Never Talk About It. It's no longer the Gab
Franklin and Bash episode.
No, I love drawing teams like Bayern. That's a fun matchup, and you know that we are the last team that anybody wanted to draw. Any of the big teams. I mean, I don't want to be too arrogant, but I'm not worried about Bayern. I would pick us against Bayern more than I would pick us against a team like Palace, honestly. Like we play up to our competition, and I really think, especially that first leg being at Anfield, really helps mitigate the Van Dijk loss. I think in that game, by that point, we will only have Fabinho and Milner available to play center back, and it'll be great. But seriously though, I love the Champions League. It's a really cool competition. I think we can wreck Bayern, and I think depending on who we draw after that, after this round, it's completely up in the air. Anybody could take it at that point. And so I think it could be a really fun end of the season in that regard too. If we get out, it's not the end of the world because of our position in the league, but I would be really salty if we get knocked out this round and start dropping off in our league performances. Well, that would kind of be sad. That would be disappointing. But if we make a deep run in the Champions League and possibly win the league, heck yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, no, for sure. How many times have we won the Champions League in recent memory? At least we've won it in recent memory, right? Right. This is the Premier League. The possibility of a Premier League title is something that is almost 30 years in the making, that sort of. So yeah, I could totally.
It's as old as we are.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird, but I could totally understand the hype then of being so excited about the performance in the league right now that we aren't really that concerned about the Champions League as fans. I could totally understand fans. Obviously we want to do the best we can in any competition. Otherwise, we wouldn't have so many fans that were really deeply hurt by getting knocked out of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Like deeply, like being a part of the Liverpool, like US-based Liverpool supporters Facebook group cracks me up because there's so many people in there going like, God, why can't we ever take the FA Cup seriously? And I'm like, okay. Sports fans just got to be angry, but you could kind of understand why with the hype around the Premier League season, we're kind of okay with other things being secondary. Because right now, like if there was ever a time to break the streak and win the Premier League, this would this would be it. Like, we've set ourselves up for it. We just have to finish the job now. The foundation is laid. Just finish the job. Oh, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time.
Would y'all be saltier if we went out in the round of 16 or if we advanced to the quarterfinals and drew another English team? Because I hate when teams play teams from their own country. I want to go on a European adventure vicariously through the team, and I don't want us to draw any English teams throughout the entire competition. And I absolutely desperately want to win this. I want to win the Champions League as much as I want to win the league. I know the league is the one that's eluded us, but the Champions League is absolutely massive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People are kind of forgetting about that because we've been so obsessed with the league, but it might be absolutely fantastic for us to go on a deep run in the Champions League because it will distract the fan obsession and hunger and alleviate some of the pressure externally on this group to win the league.
I completely agree with everything except one, because I feel like the next round is when we could feasibly draw United. And this United, like, I mean, I know, they're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is they're playing well right now, but like, this, we could spank this United. Like, I want them right that, because it's, I mean, they could still win, obviously, but like, that'd be a perfect opponent for us to draw in the quarters. But no, you're right. I didn't mean to downplay the Champions League because it would be phenomenal. But
y'all did.
At the same time, like, my gosh, can we just get the league monkey off our back and then we can worry about anything else?
That's kind of my thought process too, which is why I'm totally okay with downplaying the Champions League very publicly, very openly.
Just like the TV provider for the Champions League, downplaying it.
Yeah. Good old Bleacher Report. Back in the very early days of Bleacher Report, when I was in college, and it was just kind of like, you just kind of created an account and you could just write blog posts about your sports teams. I was actually like contacted about being like an SEC like moderator for the entire SEC section of Bleacher Report. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't really have the time. I'm a busy college student. And then like I saw them like become a huge media thing and make a lot of money. I was like, oh, I probably should have done that and made some cash off of that website. Whoops.
I wrote 3 articles for Bleacher Report back then. One called 5 Reasons Why Clint Dempsey is a perfect fit for Liverpool. I feel the same way, but I do wish that literally anyone other than Bleacher Report had the Champions League. Maybe NBC, Rebecca Lope. I know you listen. Please get on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I do want to point out that I'm glad I did not do that because I think Bleacher Report is a trash clickbait.
Yeah. No doubt.
Nonsense sports website that I won't even call them a journalism site because they're not. So,
well, they're every now and then they'll get one piece like every 3 months that you can tell one of the soccer journalists spent like 4 years researching. So there was actually a really interesting one about the Fabio Quagliarella stalking case where he had been dealing with a stalker for like 8 years. So there was an investigative report on that. It might just be Paolo Bandini, who is the only one that does the deep research reports.
Probably so.
But everything else is garbage. But every now and then they'll have that winner, and it's like a 25,000 word long article. Yeah, so that makes it worth it, but not $4 worth.
I like that. What you got hung up on by accident right then was basically the word.
Yeah,
like that's the word that slipped you up. Was just
and not Quagliarella.
Yeah,
you're right. Oh, I love it.
I stand by it.
Oh man. Whew. Well, it's been a great season so far. Lot to celebrate. Yeah, there's been some negatives. Yeah, there's a little bit of inconsistency at times from certain position groups or certain players, but for the most part, I mean, it's just hard to really nitpick much of what Liverpool has been doing so far. A lot of it seems very calculated, even down to the point of playing a lot of players that don't see a huge amount of playing time in the FA Cup just to try to get a little bit of match fitness out of them in case they need to see more playing time. Looking at players like Chiesa, for example, or Origi, in case something were to happen, up top, that sort of thing. There's been a lot of I don't know. It feels like this is a season that has been several seasons in the making under Jurgen Klopp, and we are really looking to reap the rewards right now. And I'm feeling quite optimistic. If you had to give like a percentage of like how optimistic you're feeling that we finished the mission that we set out, what would you say, Alex?
200%.
Will?
I'm right there. I mean, it's 10 Shaqs out of 10. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm going to go 250% just to one-up Alex in my excitement level.
I'm not
Deal with it. Deal with it. All right. For Alex Lebel and Will Caves, shout out to Andrew Ainsworth and Zach Osborne, who has pneumonia right now. Oh.
Right now, for like the past month.
Who has had pneumonia all season. Is he our good luck charm?
Yes.
Do we need to make sure Zach always has pneumonia? So
His body cannot handle the optimism, and it's just destroying itself.
it's rejecting all of this optimism. Oh, man. But shout out to those two guys. And, of course, shout out to our corporate sponsors, Bleacher Report and Alex's friend, Gav.
Yeah.
I'm Joseph Craven, and this has been You'll Never Talk Alone. We'll see you next time.